The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys! This is Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw Dating, preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys, and broadcasting live from Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star.
Welcome to Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Christy Scales, Aisha Morrison, Jess Navarez here with you on this Wednesday afternoon. Well, we have a new tradition here on Girls Talk, Boys Talk, and that is our jar, our pun jar, that has become a pun jar. Oh, we have a jar. We officially have a jar, okay? So anytime this is the following is mentioned, we get to fill this jar up, and we're going to see how full it gets throughout the rest of the season. So,
But there are rules.
All right, what's the rules?
Because you're Duran Bland.
Anything but bland.
That is not 1 quarter. That's 2 quarters.
All right, 2 quarters. All right.
Okay, for Aisha.
I'm willing to give that up.
Aisha, not puns, but I think they're hilarious, but...
Can't you say barnacles?
Or tater tots.
You can. It's just going to cost you 25 cents.
You can. You just have to contribute to our pun jar every
I can't
time.
even say tracking?
No.
Oh, no, we like tracking.
No,
we'll
tracking,
decide.
barnacles, tater tots.
We're going to let Jasmine, the producer, and let Chris Beam be the final arbiters. Now, I brought 1 stack of quarters, and because I spilled Dr. Pepper on the...
In the quarter. In
Yeah,
the jar.
that one goes in first. But
There's more rules,
Dr.
though.
Pepper is the official soda of the Dallas Cowboys, so I think for that mention I should get it back.
Yeah, that's not fair because you're
So
in
that's
charge
the
of
rule.
that. That's cheating.
We'll let Jazzy and Chris be the final arbiters. But okay, I
All
did
right.
spill the Dr. Pepper. So
There you go. Back in the jar. So,
and
anytime Christy takes a swig of her Dr. Pepper and sits back, that's another one.
well, I'd have to lick it off the desk today
Well,
since
yeah,
I
it's not
spilled
here
it.
today.
So,
But
anyway.
normally, and then when Aisha says tater tots, barnacles, or tracking, that's more. For me, my list.
She can say tracking.
Oh, tracking's fine.
I'm gonna be broke.
No, I want to add tracking because I have like 20 rules. This is not fair. This is so lopsided. I can't say puns. I can't say Duran Bland is anything but bland, especially. That one's worth 2 quarters. I can't talk about Taylor Swift. Guys, you're killing me.
No, this is good. You can say anything you want. You just have to contribute to the fund. So we will take a vote, or we'll let people send in comments. So whether we use this for a Girls Talk, Boys Talk Christmas party, or maybe donate it to charity.
We'll
so by the
donate
end
it.
of the season,
Yep.
hopefully we get
It'll go to
a pretty good amount.
It'll go to a good cause. Because I'm be broke by the end of the season for all of those rules. All right, so new rules. If you guys hear or see any of that, leave it in the comments. Tweet us, send us texts, and let us know that we get a quarter in our jar. All right. Let's start with what we saw in Wednesday's practice. The official practice report did come out, so let's go over that. You had your center, Tyler Biotish, hamstring injury, did not participate. Guard, Zach Martin, ankle injury, did not participate. Tackle, Tyron Smith, knee injury, did not participate. 2 others didn't participate, but this was because of a rest day for them. So that was DeMarcus Lawrence and then CeeDee Lamb. And then last but certainly not least, Chuma Edoga was limited with the elbow injury. I did catch up with Chuma today. I like to go talk to him in the locker room every time we're in there. And I said, how are you feeling? He said, I'm feeling good. He just said that he can feel the workload that he had this week. And he said it's expected, but I'm good. So, again, limited there. If they need Chuma, we'll see how the week goes. And that's kind of what we got from McCarthy today was nothing is set in stone for any of these guys yet. I think CeeDee and DeMarcus are out of that question. I think that's just more precautionary. Like we talked about yesterday with Tony Pollard, certainly the case with these two as well. But nothing is set in stone for who's going to be available on Sunday as far as the offensive line goes. And once we know, so will you guys. We'll let you know as soon as we do. But Christy, let's go to you here first. We heard from Mike McCarthy this morning, and he said something specifically that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah. He said that, as they evaluated what happened in the loss at Arizona and moving ahead, that there were 3 blinking lights. And it's something that we've been talking about on the podcast all week and certainly here on Girls Talk, Boys Talk. And the 3 blinking lights, the first one is the penalties, way too many, shooting themselves in the foot. Yeah, especially those pre-snap penalties. Red zone inefficiency. So they're evaluating that because they know that has been a big issue. And then the run defense. So it's no secret that there were too many missed fits. And he didn't mention big plays specifically like in the pass game, but they know that the Patriots would love to be able to run the ball with Ramondre and with Zeke on Sunday. So the three big issues that they're looking to fix this week: penalties, red zone offense, and run defense.
Yeah, and they all kind of go hand in hand a bit. I mean, when
Sure.
you talk about the penalties, especially specifically, one of the biggest things is that they're getting, Shadi mentioned it, they're getting in third and long situations and third and goal situations from like the 15 because of the penalty. So, at least, listen, I mean, at least they know what are the issues. They're identifying them. Those are things that they're trying to work, and we'll just see, like we said yesterday, like they said that they see it. And if you can acknowledge a problem, that means you can fix it. Yeah, so I'm glad that they're working to fix it.
And
on it.
what Micah said today, I thought was great.
Oh,
He met with the media this afternoon.
Yeah, Micah was incredible. We were just talking about this. Every time Micah talks, you're like, that's a fantastic quote. And then 2 seconds later, you're like, that's another fantastic quote. He's full of good quotes, but he talked about not taking an L twice. So what does that mean? That means you already lost once. So they already lost to the Cardinals. We all know that. But losing again would mean not executing and not fixing the problem and correcting it, learning and growing from it. He said they want to be a championship team. They can't just walk the walk. They have to talk the talk. They have to do all the things together to execute. At the end of the day, what I got out of hearing Micah talk today was they're ready to get back on the field and prove that they are not who they showed on Sunday's game.
Exactly.
Yeah, and something that I mean, we've talked about just the depth on this defensive line and just how much of a luxury it is and just how many guys they have that can rush the passer and the waves and everything. And something that is a big part of coaching, I'm sure, that with guys that are that talented, like some of the Cowboys' second-string defensive linemen could be starters different places, right? So one part of that is for guys to be on the same page, because I guess you don't think about the fact, like, okay, they have so many guys that can get out there and be successful, that can rush the passer, that can, accumulate sacks. How do you, as a coach, it has to be not difficult, but you have to work to keep them leveled and on the same page, because you got guys that want to be out there. They want to be out there. There's a lot of eagerness that I felt like we saw this past week to make the play, to do that. And I think that's kind of important that the coaches are kind of honing these guys back in and letting them know, like, hey, you're playing for your brother. You have to play within the system, despite the fact that you got a lot of talented guys out there. I think that's a big part of the coaching aspect too, I'm sure.
Yeah, and even within the leadership of the players themselves, a big buzzword this week in the locker room, particularly among the defensive players, is accountability.
Attractive.
And the fact that they're accountable. Oh, there we go.
Jesus.
There's one for Aisha. So
Making
we're
bank
at
today.
50 cents already, just
proud
3
of you.
minutes in.
It's not because of me. I'd like to throw that out there.
But it's the accountability. It's the accountability to each other. And thank you, Jess and Chris.
So
excellent. And so
I love it.
But it's being able to talk to each other, hold each other accountable. And there are some teams, and there have been some superstar players. And I can say it's happened here, years ago, where there's some superstar players who maybe didn't like being spoken to by their teammates, and but that's not the way it is now. And so everyone is working towards the same goal, right? Everyone's in the same boat and rowing the same direction, and so that isn't always the case when you have some of the standout players like we have now with Cowboys.
Absolutely, and we got to talk to a few guys today in the locker room, and I don't know about you ladies, but I did notice when we were in there, the guys they're very focused. They're very honed in. I wouldn't describe it as being mad. And I think that's a big misconception when it comes to locker room, after a loss, especially, when you're in the Wednesday and Thursday part of it. Sure, after a game, different story. But I'm saying in the part of the week, they're focused and they have turned the page. And so if anything that I got out of talking to any of the guys that I talked to today, they're like, yep, it happened.
Yeah.
That's that's what happened, and now we're here, and here's how we fix it, and here's what we learned. And they're very quick to tell you what they learned. They're not trying to hold back that they needed to learn. And I think that lack of ego in that locker room is just so apparent because it's not there. They're not too big to learn. They're still students of the game, and every single person I talked to today said, from different position groups even, said what they needed to work on, what accountability they took for the loss in their own way. It was just kind of incredible to talk to all these guys, and the first thing that they did was, I did this wrong. Nobody that I talked to today pointed fingers at anybody other than themselves. And then I kept asking a little bit more about it in depth, and I'll get into some of the notes in a little while. But overall, I think the feel was just perfect word for it, Christy, accountable. They're all taking accountability.
Yeah, this is a great game. If you want to, kind of show what you're capable of being fundamentally sound, and Bill Belichick's going to bring that out of you. He's going to, if whoever you're playing against, he's going to require you to be on your P's and Q's because he'll pick and choose. He'll point out your weaknesses. We talked about it. But as far as the fundamentals, that's going to be important during this game to be sound because he very quickly will notice your deficiencies and take advantage of them. So, yes, I think this is a perfect game that if they want to turn the tide and get back on track as far as just being fundamentally sound, this is the game to do it.
And that's why I'm so excited about this game. Yes, the Cowboys did play them a couple of years ago, but generally you only get to play AFC opponents once every 4 years. And so before a couple of years ago, it was every 4 years you get to play Bill Belichick, and the Cowboys hadn't beaten him until that overtime pass from Dak to CD up in Foxborough a couple years ago. But to Aisha's point and to what Brian Schottenheimer, the Cowboys offensive coordinator, said on Monday, that when you play a Bill Belichick defense, that it's like you're playing left-handed. And he didn't mean that you're running and passing everything to the left side. It means more like with one hand tied behind your back. But you're right. So that's why I'm so fascinated by this Sunday's game. And I'm so excited just from a strategy standpoint, because what does Bill identify as the Cowboys' top threat? Is it Tony Pollard and taking away the run game? Mm-hmm. Is it CD? Do you double him, or do you take their fantastic young rookie corner and have him travel with CD? Or maybe you have him travel with Brandon and double CD. So that's what's going to be really, really fascinating. Is I think when you play a Bill Belichick team, you learn so much about yourself.
Yep,
because what he's trying to take away is your best strength. Mm-hmm. The other thing, and this is something that they were talking about in the locker room today, Stephon Gilmore, who played 5 years for Bill Belichick, Bill Belichick is the best at exploiting your weakness. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So is that young offensive lineman who may have to fill in for another game like they did last week in Phoenix? I don't know, but what Bill chooses to do, how he strategizes and does the matchups, is going to tell us so much about what other teams, what one of the great geniuses in NFL history truly thinks about the Cowboys.
So good, Christy. Well, let's take our first break. When we come back, we're going to Belichick out some of our key matchups for Sunday's game.
Oh, my gosh. That should be Patriots. 2. We're going with 2. Jazz, we're going with 2.
That's not fair. You're just changing the rules now. Oh, okay. All right. Well,
who has the gold makes the rules.
Well, we'll be right back. We're going to talk about some key matchups, a little bit more interesting nuggets from the locker room as well. We heard from Tony Pollard. We'll tell you what he had to say about the run, and it would not be Girls Talk Boys Talk if we didn't talk about the Ezekiel Elliott homecoming game and what we know so far about that. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
We know that juicy, cheesy, grilled to perfection burger sounds amazing, but it does sound like something is missing. Pepsi, baby! The yin to this burger's yang. Burgers and Pepsi go together like burgers and Pepsi. This perfect blending of flavors makes every bite of lettuce, every sesame seed on the bun, and every sip of that crisp, refreshing, ice-cold cola a journey to Foodtopia. Burgers, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
At Jigsaw Dating, we obviously want the Cowboys to bring that 6th ring home. But to be honest, we're more focused on finding the person who will put a ring on your finger. That's why we created a dating app that reveals your face through meaningful conversation, so you can date deeper. Because it's personality that matters the most, not looks. Join Jigsaw Dating today, dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. We're going to get into some key matchups for your Dallas Cowboys Week 4 against the New England Patriots. But first, mark your calendars and get your Lederhosen and stains ready. Frisco Oktoberfest officially returns for their 4th annual celebration on Saturday, October 7th at the Star in Frisco, featuring Bavarian-inspired activities, delicious food and drink, and plenty of great live entertainment as well. Visit thestardistrict.com/events for more information. Sounds fun. At this rate, you know what? We might have enough to really enjoy Oktoberfest. We already made $1 today in our jar, and we're not even a quarter of a way through.
Yeah, just one segment, $1 per segment. That's going to add up quickly.
Man. All right, well, let's go a little bit more into locker room talks. We did hear from Tony Pollard today, and Tony had some really good little nuggets. Specifically, I love hearing any of these guys talk about Zeke and this homecoming, if you will. Jerry Jones talked on The Fan this morning, and something that he made note of when he was asked, are you going to do anything for Zeke? He said, if I tell you, it'll ruin the surprise. That should tell you enough. And so I think something's in store for a Zeke homecoming, and you've seen that before with players that have either moved on from football entirely or Christy, I can't recall another player that went to another team.
For example, when Tony Romo came back the first time as a broadcaster, and they had a really nice video tribute. Haven't seen Corey Miller, who's our director of presentation, out there at the stadium. Usually see him later in the week, and so try and find out some info there. But it would be very well deserved. And I'm thinking, are you guys thinking that he's going to get a really warm ovation and reception from Cowboys fans? I mean, not if he scores a winning touchdown, but against the team. But.
Yeah, I mean, I would expect so.
I honestly think some people are still going to do the Zeke thing. Honestly,
yes.
Like if he gets a first down or something, I very much so think people are still gonna do it. So a lot of people still love Ezekiel Elliott. It'll be cool to see him again.
And I loved what Mike McCarthy said, that he's still a presence. He's still mentioned in the locker room at least once a week. That his leadership, that the way that he, by example, doing all the small things, all the dirty work, but mainly just his energy and the fun. That's something that Tony Pollard, that all the guys have talked about, how much fun he brought to the locker room. But he can still serve as an example because it's so fresh for the players. And, of course, he didn't sign with New England until late in the summer. And so when he's texting the guys, right, during training camp and during offseason and checking in with the running backs, with Rico and with Tony and with Malik, they talked during the summer about getting messages from Zeke. And, of course, he still lives here in the North Texas area, real close to the Star. And so I'm hoping that he still stays in the area and stays part of the community even after his NFL career is done, wherever he finishes playing, because he's, like Mike said, he's still one of the most popular Cowboys. Not only Mike was talking about inside the locker room, of course, but outside as well among the fan base.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk.
Oh, no. I mean, he's going to have to see them this week.
Yeah.
I mean.
Well, let's talk about what this means for the Cowboys. Because Zeke, look, here's the thing. Zeke will get you to that red zone, and Zeke will push for every yard that he gets, whether he's supposed to get that many yards after catch or after carry. Zeke's going to break tackles. Zeke is physical. He's a hard runner. And, again, he's not somebody to be overlooked by the Cowboys, especially this week.
He looked good watching the Patriots this week. I mean, he looked slim, fast. I mean, he was really upfield, up to the second level very quickly. He has 34 touches so far this year. Mm-hmm. He is the backup to Ramondre Stevenson, but he has 28 carries. I believe it's 6 catches. And so
I think he's averaging like 4.4
yeah,
yards a carry.
4.4 yards a carry, and Stevenson's only averaging like 2.8. So
looking at some of the things they like to do, with the Patriots, they do a lot of like inside runs. Like they're just trying to, they're running up the middle a lot. But you can see that when Zeke comes in, they have packages where they're trying to get him outside the numbers, bouncing it to the edge. So because he has been able to capture the edge, more, to start the season. So I think that's something to definitely keep an eye on. It's because we've seen teams attack your edges and as far as the Cowboys, we've seen teams kind of trying to attack your edges, make your DNs have to tackle or make your corners come up and tackle. I could definitely see that's something that they might do with Ezekiel Elliott just to get him out in space. But the Patriots typically, like looking at their film, they run up the middle and they're physical and they're just going to try to make you beat it.
Yeah,
you got to beat it.
And then the other thing is, in terms of Zeke, he did speak to the New England media, the local media up there today, and he tried to downplay everything. Oh, it's just another game. Yeah, well, anything extra special or like to prove something to them, after they let you go. Well, you do that every game, every week in the NFL. He is doing a conference call with national and then the Dallas media tomorrow, so it'll be interesting to see if he has anything more to say. But I had a really unique opportunity yesterday to spend about 2.5 hours with Emmitt Smith and C.D. Lamb. We had an event, a taping in the TV studio just down the hall here at the Star for UPS. It was a really great event, but when we were waiting for the cameras to be set up and all that kind of stuff, Emmitt was talking about his homecoming. I think a lot of fans, or particularly young fans who, for them, the triplets are the old guys and Troy's the guy that's the TV broadcaster, not the one that they remember as the 3-time Super Bowl winner.
Yeah.
But Emmitt did not finish his career with the Cowboys. Emmitt played 2 years with the Cardinals, but that first year that he was in Arizona, he came here and played at Texas Stadium. And yesterday, I don't want to say too much about it because this wasn't an interview. This was just people talking. But I think it's okay. He wouldn't mind if I say that he admitted to being very, very, very emotional because you're riding in on the visiting team bus. And it was the first time he'd ever been in a locker room there that was not the home locker room. Mm-hmm. And that he wept. He was very, very emotional. And then it didn't go so well in the game because some Emmitt fans may remember this. Roy Williams, the Cowboys safety, came across, and Emmitt actually suffered a shoulder injury in that game. I believe it was a fractured scapula. So, he finished his career, but he was saying that, Zeke's going to be emotional coming back, and especially if they do some kind of tribute, which Jerry has indicated that they will. But if it's when Zeke is on the sideline and looking up, how can you not be emotional?
Yeah. Well, and I think that goes across the board too, right? When you're seeing your brother, your teammate on the other side from you and not next to you like you're used to seeing, and not only that, but they know it's a game, right? Everybody goes into this knowing it's still a game. It doesn't matter who the opponent is, but to have to hit your former teammate at full speed, full force, and not hold back, because at practice, nobody's hitting and tackling. There's limitations on all of that. You don't actually hit and actually tackle. Otherwise, people would be hurt left and right. There's limitations for that across the NFL. However, to know that, Micah talked about it today. Micah talked about Zeke today and saying, we always go back and forth and we banter and we say, Zeke always tells me, you're lucky I'm not there because I would really have you. I really know you. And I think it's just going to be so interesting to see that because this really, especially you're talking generational, this is the first time, millennials like myself who their quarterback started Tony Romo and then it was, now Dak Prescott, all of that. Ezekiel Elliott's really that milestone player that you didn't have to, you didn't know you would say bye to, that he wouldn't retire have a full career with the Cowboys. You didn't know that, right? So it's really the first time you have to see that kind of player make a return. Because Dez, even when Dez left, he never had to make a return to the stadium and play against the Cowboys. And so I think it's going to be interesting. And so, I'm excited to see how they utilize him, because here's the thing. Zeke does not have a touchdown yet for the season. I just want to put that out there. And look, you play for your teammates, you play for your brother. You can't tell me they're not going to do anything in their power to get Zeke in the end zone during this game.
I think you're totally right. But the part that you said about Micah and Zeke saying, hey, you never had to go against me, how fun is that going to be when Micah comes off the edge, or if they send a blitzer or Leighton's coming up the middle, and then Zeke has to be, he's so great at picking up the blitzes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there may be a chance for Zeke to deliver some blows this Sunday, and not necessarily the other way around when he's carrying the ball or catching the ball.
Absolutely. Aisha, let's go to you. I know you were studying some film and some takeaways and how the Cowboys can improve from last Sunday and move forward, turn the page officially. We heard about the blinking lights, but what did you notice when you went back, you watched film? What are the first points of emphasis to improve specifically against this New England team?
I mean, they're going to take advantage of your weaknesses, so they should definitely take advantage. The Cowboys should take advantage of theirs. I mean, their left guard, Cole Strange, he is a little light in the butt. I'll put it like that, where he's not a heavy left guard. Neither is their center, and I think the Cowboys defense specifically should be able to be disruptive in this game, or have some success in stopping the run. As far as the offense goes, I'm just really looking at, I think them running the ball, there should be opportunities there, especially in the screen game. If you watch the Miami game, Miami really, I mean, they do some crazy stuff anyway, but I think you can really have some success with pre-snap motion and things like that. That's something we haven't seen a whole bunch from Mike McCarthy to start, but that's something that I've seen him do. And, I think the speed guys could be very beneficial against this 3-4 defense that the Patriots run, and getting these guys out in space, because they're the way that they play defense, there are open spaces and open holes for this run game to get going. Maybe not just running downhill, but attacking the edges, getting out in space, and letting these guys go get some yak yards, even though New England tackles pretty well.
They really do. Good run defense. And what I'm interested in is they have a lot of issues at cornerback health-wise through the first few weeks. Now, Christian Gonzalez, who I mentioned, the great rookie, who has traveled with the top receivers for the other team. So this past week against the Jets, he followed Garrett Wilson around. Against Miami, he had Tyreek Hill. And so this is a really, really fine player. But the first couple weeks, playing more zone. Now against the Jets and Zach Wilson, they blitz the heck out of him, and playing some more man-to-man. It'll be interesting to see, as we talked earlier, what kind of approach they take against the Cowboys, because they've done a couple of different things these first few weeks. But again, a lot of that is going to be based on their health situation. They also have a couple of injuries along the defensive line. So will they have to maybe do some extra reinforcements, to help along that line and maybe commit more resources against the run? But Gonzalez is a good young player, but Matthew Judon, he's the stud. And rushing off the edge, they rushed linebacker, and so made a huge play at the end of the Jets game to help seal that. So, going to be he's the guy that you got to know where he is.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about some of the things you should be looking for, we talked about, some of the injuries to the offensive line, not knowing who's going to be running, who's going to be going. But one of the biggest things with this 3-4 base is, like, because they drop a linebacker in coverage sometimes, or sometimes that those two rushers are just pass rushing, you just don't know. The communication from the offensive line, especially the interior, is going to have to be good when you're playing up against a defense that runs a 3-4 and just the way they do things. And also, too, like, thank you for mentioning the cornerback injuries, because that makes sense as to why, like, they give up a lot of free releases at the line of scrimmage. So what that means is that the cornerback is not pressing up against the receiver at the line. They're not, in their face. They're not in. I mean, they might be in man, but they're giving a lot of cushion, crap ton of cushion to receivers. So we'll see if maybe that's something they change up. But if not, it's probably because of what Christy just said, is the fact that they have some injuries back there, and they're being a little bit more conservative with some of the things that they are doing, and maybe that might play into how much they decide to blitz as well.
Something I'll be interested in seeing is, depending on obviously Tyler Biadasz's availability going into the week, and how he looks throughout practice. I think Thursday's practice is very telling and everything from there, but if he cannot be available, something that Mike McCarthy, we're talking about accountability again, held himself accountable for, was saying these young guys weren't as prepared as they should have been going into the Cardinals game, talking about Brock Hoffman, TJ Bass, and then even Chuma Edoga not having enough practice together in the line, because again, you're talking one unit. So to me, what will be interesting is if Tyler Biadasz is not available for Sunday's game, which again, we don't know what that is going to look like yet, how much more practice and prep the younger guys, so Brock Hoffman specifically, can get, and especially the communication factor of this offensive line, and how much they can improve from what you saw with them having very limited preparation. You're talking, Tyler Biadasz didn't pop up on the injury report until Thursday, so you're talking you have Friday and Saturday to prepare for Sunday. 2 days of minimal practice, because at that point, walk through. You're not getting full-on practices like they do on Wednesday and Thursday. So if Biadasz is not available, to see how Brock Hoffman can look under a full week's work of preparation will be interesting to me under center.
Yeah, and left tackle Tyron didn't land on the list until after Saturday, during Saturday's practice, and so Chuma Edoga, who by the way had missed practice time last week because of the aforementioned elbow injury, now he's out at left tackle, a guy who had played the first 2 games at left guard for Tyler Smith. So a lot of moving parts.
They asked Tyler Barnacles,
Quarter.
Dang it, man! But they asked Mike McCarthy about, if, I think it was yesterday, or saying, if it wasn't so late in the week, could we have maybe seen Tyler at left tackle and Edoga at left guard? Was it today or was it yesterday?
Today.
It was today.
It all blends together.
Yeah.
It all comes together.
And so I'm looking at that, because we've seen Chuma Edoga be effective at the left guard position. Obviously, Tyler's played left tackle. It's earlier in the week, so maybe that's something that they work, because early in that game, there was a lot of pressure coming from the left side. So I wonder how that pans out and what they decide to do there. Actually got to talk to Brock Hoffman in the locker room today, and he just was talking to him about the communication, the calls, and everything. And he feels very confident in his ability. He mentioned his dad is a football coach, or was a football coach, on a high level. So he was just saying that he feels as though he's prepared for whatever they throw at them. And yeah, I mean, you talk about the red zone efficiency also too. I also, too, and this could be me, I do think that Mike McCarthy was a bit surprised with, not surprised, but those guys play pretty. I don't know that many teams in the NFL that could have 3 starting offensive linemen out, and you be able to move the ball between the 20s that well.
You had over 400 yards of offense.
Yes, and he admitted, obviously he admitted that he was somewhat conservative with, throwing the ball deep and some of the decisions they made as far as the quick timing things. I wonder if since he's seen some good things from this young offensive line, depending on what happens, if he decides to let it rip a little bit, which would be nice, to go ahead and start threatening, so these defenses can stop being so aggressive close to the line of scrimmage.
And last week we didn't see Deuce Vaughn out there for any offensive plays. We didn't see the package with Cavante, and I'd like to mention special teams today or tomorrow as well, because New England, a lot of emphasis on that, so that can be a really big part of Sunday's game.
Yes,
real quick, we'll get into a little bit more of these matchups. We're going to continue talking about all of this, and we haven't even gotten into Red Zone, what we heard from the guys in the locker room today talk about that. We're going to do that here in our next segment. Stay tuned. This is Girls Talk Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, and we will be right back.
At Jigsaw Dating, we obviously want the Cowboys to bring that 6th ring home. But to be honest, we're more focused on finding the person who will put a ring on your finger. That's why we created a dating app that reveals your face through meaningful conversation, so you can date deeper. Because it's personality that matters the most, not looks. Join Jigsaw Dating today, dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
You know that sound anywhere. It's the crisp crunch of that first nacho chip. With its perfect cheese to sour cream ratio sitting atop a layer of delicious beans, it's a sip away from perfection. That's what we're looking for. Add a delicious, refreshing Pepsi and we've achieved absolute nacho nirvana. Because while you can pile those nachos high with every spicy, cheesy, savory topping, there's no topping a cool Pepsi finish. Nachos, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
To our final segment of Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Join us at the Miller Lighthouse at AT&T Stadium on October 7th and 8th for world-class barbecue from pitmasters across the country while enjoying live entertainment and liberations at the QBBQ Fest Dallas. This October, the only thing hotter than the Dallas Cowboys will be the 30,000 pounds of brisket, chicken, pulled pork, and ribs smoking at the Miller Lighthouse when some of the finest names in barbecue come together at the Q Barbecue Fest. Tickets are on sale now at SeatGeek.com, the official ticketing provider of AT&T Stadium. Oh, that makes me so hungry every time we talk about it. I'm so hungry right now, I could probably eat all 30,000 pounds of that
so
barbecue.
Good. It does sound, barbecue does
So
sound
hungry.
really good.
I'm anxious to see what tomorrow, because the Patriots this week, every Thursday, Chef Andrew and the culinary team here at the Star in Frisco, they get together with Scott Sainert, our director of sports performance, and with Claire, who works with Scott, and come up with a menu item that is specific to the upcoming opponent. So, for example, this time last year, I guess it was week 2 when we played Cincinnati. So that Thursday it was Skyline Chili, because that's like the thing that Cincinnati's famous for. And so I wonder if we're going to maybe have some clam chowder tomorrow for Thursday with
good.
New England coming up.
Man, I'm just hungry. Guys, we got to change the subject. I'm too hungry for this. Okay, you know who else said he was hungry? Micah Parsons.
Oh, yeah.
He said he was hungry. And I'm not making that his words, not mine. I mean, I said
We did
I'm
not
hungry
set
too.
that up.
No.
No.
Oh, what? Was that a lion growl?
Whoa. Way to go, Jazz.
Okay, I love that. Can we add a quarter every time Jazz comes up with something cool? Because that would really be full. Love that.
There you go.
Jazzy, give
Thanks,
yourself
Jazz.
a quarter. That was cool. Oh, it's Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Chris
That's
or
for
Jazz,
you.
whoever. Okay, let's continue on. Let's talk. Jazz, you didn't do your ding. I'm waiting. We're waiting for it. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. We're at 150, everybody. Okay, ladies, let's get into this last segment. Talking in more locker room conversations about the red zone specifically. I know the run defense, obviously a big topic of conversation. We'll get into that a little bit probably tomorrow. But the red zone efficiency, specifically getting into the end zone and capitalizing in the red zone, was a big topic of conversation today in the locker room. I talked to a few guys and I kind of asked, you know, what's the deal? What is really stopping you guys? And it was explained to me perfectly by someone in the locker room, who I'm not going to name, but he said that when you're in the red zone, every player almost has to play at a perfect game, especially in the red zone, because there's so much margin for error, and if any little slip-up happens, then you're going to lose yardage on that play, because everybody's stuffed up so towards the front trying to keep you from the end zone. He said, what's been going on a little bit is, one, nobody was on the same rhythm. Everyone was playing to the beat of their own drum, essentially, especially on Sunday. He said, two, everybody just has to be ready for whatever is in Dak's control at that point, whether it's first read here, and people kind of just, it was a second, he said, not turning their head correctly to see that, or just miscues, misfires, he said, but they've worked at it at practice this week and already, and that there's going to be more practice tomorrow on it, which we heard from Mike McCarthy this morning anyways. They feel confident about fixing this issue. It's not something I don't think you'll continue to see. And honestly, this game, when you look at it, I think it's red zone versus red zone. That's your goal, because keep in mind, the Patriots last season were ranked last in scoring percentage in the red zone. They're ranked 7th this season so far. And they have a 71.3 scoring percentage. In 2022, in the red zone, they were ranked last in the NFL, 42.22 scoring percentage. Hence why the Ezekiel Elliott pickup was a good choice for them. Again, Zeke hasn't had a touchdown, but Zeke is going to get you to the red zone no matter what there. So, red zone efficiency, Aisha, how do they turn it up a notch against this Bill Belichick-led Patriots team? What is Bill going to do?
I mean, I think that a big part of it, again, is, it's like it's the game within the game that's important to me, is that there's defenses are playing you in the red zone like they don't think you can score down there, with all due respect. Like, it's kind of, they're dropping a lot of guys in coverage, and they're daring you to run the ball. Now, granted, the Cowboys have tried to run the ball down there, but when you got 3 starting offensive linemen out of there, they're not seeing a lot of success doing that. So what I'm really looking at is the passing element down there. Like, and if I'm not mistaken, I don't think a Dallas wide receiver has had a touchdown that's down correct. There. That's
correct.
Lay nuts. I mean, that's crazy, man. So I mean, you mentioned them being on the same page and everything just being, timing and things like that. I also too just think it's important. We talked about it yesterday, the scramble down there, even so. So for me, I'm like, I think that the Cowboys are going to have to show their efficiency down there so defenses can stop playing them as tight as they are in the way they're doing it. And Dak mentioned it, maybe using his legs. But I personally think that they could use their speed guys down there in this game, especially with some of the screen game has been effective in the red zone. Some of getting these guys in space. If you want to get them to stop playing coverage so tightly back there, make those corners come up and tackle. Make them have to make business decisions. And with Dak, use your legs. Make them. They're in a place to where the tape that's out there has shown that they struggle down there, and teams are playing them that way. So really, moving forward, I'm looking at how they take advantage of the disrespect. And I know that sounds. No, it's true. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but make them pay when they decide to do these things where they don't, and rightfully so. I mean, I understand. So for me, I'm looking at the wide receivers, possibly the tight ends, being more involved down there when you're trying to score down there. So we'll see.
I love what you said about wide receivers, because the one of the key elements of that Rico Dowdle, the running back's touchdown catch in Phoenix on Sunday in Glendale, that was Brandon Cooks.
Oh,
who made a great block on that rookie corner, Keytrell, and Clark got him out of the way, and so that was a fantastic play. So that is a great example of the execution that we're talking about. The other words that you both mentioned was timing. So the one where Kaiser White intercepted Dak in the end zone late in the game, it was not a bad read. Yeah. It was not a bad route. It was just that late, and it allowed. And Kaiser, he's a linebacker, so he dropped. It was just enough time for him to get back and in that lane, make a great play, reaching up and grabbing that. So if it was just that much more, or excuse me, that much faster, then you got likely the 6 points there, and we're all singing a different tune in regards to the red zone efficiency.
Well, I also think, too, when you look at the Patriots, Cowboys, we talked about it earlier, pre-snap motion, misdirection, that type of stuff. This defense can be fooled in those ways. So I'm looking. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So Cowboys haven't done a whole bunch, like we talked about, they have not done a whole bunch of pre-snap motion. This would be the game to get these guys, get some of these linebackers and stuff looking one way and going the other way, to maybe up some of that efficiency in the red zone as well. Just take some pressure off. Do things to take some pressure off.
Yeah, Do you feel like the conservative level of play is going to be amplified a little bit during this game to throw them off in that way? Do you feel like it's a conservative play calling approach, or what do you feel like it has been up until this point? Have you had a chance to see it yet? I mean, do you feel like that turns up this game? No,
I think that the conservative play calling gotta go. I think that's why they're struggling down there, and that's why they're moving the ball. So they move the ball so well, down there. But no, like we talked about it earlier, establish the vertical threat, that type of stuff. Like, yeah, they got to get this monkey off their back, because every week there's film. And so I'm looking at them not being conservative when it comes to taking the deep shots, taking the chances with the defense like this. And that's going to open up the red zone. That's going to open up things when you're not playing conservatively. Understand the West Coast system is a methodical, take the time, chunk off a clock, everything. But baby, you need chunk plays. You need chunk plays, otherwise they're gonna keep putting a cap on it, keep putting a lid on it, and you gotta make. I'm looking for them to make those big plays in the passing game this week.
And one thing we saw the first couple weeks, specifically down in the red zone, was we even saw the personnel grouping where Kevontae Turpin and Deuce Vaughn are out there together. We didn't see Deuce Vaughn for any offensive plays, and we didn't in week 3 at Arizona, and we didn't see Turpin lined up in the backfield. And I'm not saying that you need to trick things up, right? But I think I agree with Aisha. I think it's going to be more open and more of the different personnel that we saw the first couple weeks.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I think that's a good way to end today's episode. Yeah. We have plenty more to talk about for Thursday. Ladies, tomorrow we have all things injury report, practice report. We'll come at you with what we know from there. We'll talk a little bit more about the Patriots defense specifically, a little bit more Patriots offense, kind of what threats that they hold that could challenge the Cowboys. We'll get into that tomorrow. And any questions you guys have, please send us our way so we can get to those as well tomorrow. All right, ladies, as always, a fun time here on Girls Talk Boys Talk. We made a total of 125 today. Yay, our quarter jar. If we missed anything, let us know so we can continue to add to it. Until then, thank you all so much for watching. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow, 4 o'clock Central Time on DallasCowboys.com. For Jess, Aisha, and Christy, this has been Girls Talk Boys Talk presented by Jigsaw. Thank you so much for listening. Have a fantastic day. We'll see you tomorrow.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!